In this video, we're going to run through most of the first days running at Bahrain with the new 2025 F1 cars. I'm going to come at this from the perspective of the driver, coach, and mentor and tell you some of the things, some of the details that I've seen with regards to the line the drivers are taking, what they're trying to achieve, and who looks good and who looks like they've got a little bit of work to do as well. I'm going to bring up the track map on the whiteboard as well. So if you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Martin. I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. If you're new here, welcome. After each session, I generally put out a video highlighting to you some of the things that I've seen from the driver's side, all on the technical side, on the tactical side, and on the mental side as well. I address all three on this channel. And like I say, this year, I'm going to try to do every single session. So we'll see how we go. So the first thing in the morning, the AM session in Bahrain. Just want to quickly highlight to you what the goals and objectives for such a session would be, or such a day would be. Also from the driver's side, what it would be. And it goes without saying, you just want problem-free running. That's the first thing. And you want to test as much as possible. You want to be trying as a driver, because the teams always come at you and say, we want to try this front wing. We want to try this flow vis. You're going to do this installation lap. Then we're going to get you on this tire. The team have their programs pretty well mapped out. But from the driver's side, it's very important on a track like Bahrain. You try your different lines, you try your different rotation tools, you play around with different car setups as well, and you get your fair share of testing as well. That's the most important thing, so that you can find your rhythm. With the cars being so close this year and everything coming down to small margins, they look very similar out there. They're pounding around out there as I speak right now, just in the final part of the PM session. As everything gets closer and closer, you and your tools and your comfort and the way you integrate in with the machine, I feel like is going to make the biggest difference this year. So you need to be trying a lot of stuff. So what does that look like? Well, from the line point of view, trying to sweep in from out wide, trying to come in a little bit tighter, trying to find your range with the brake pedal, also trying to find comfort with the brake setup. Particularly in Bahrain, like we say, there's a lot of decreasing radius corners and increasing radius corners. Gives you freedom to play with the differential, gives you freedom to play with the engine braking and brake migration and brake balance as well, and speed of downshifts and all that sort of thing. So that's what I would be trying to do, and just play around with the new machinery, see what feels better and what works better and all that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on Kimi Antonelli. He was fastest in the morning. Like I said, they're still pounding around out there. The first thing I noticed just when we cut on board to Kimi was just his grip of the steering wheel. I haven't seen this before, and I'm not sure if this is consistent with the way he drives or just the cut and the shot that I saw, but he kind of holds it with the top index fingers kind of pointing up. And I thought that was very strange. I've never seen a driver hold the steering wheel like that. So I'd be keen to see if that is how he holds the wheel or not. And not that it has that much significance at this stage in terms of pros and cons or strengths or weaknesses or whatever. Just I thought I'd note it. I don't know if maybe down the track, if load gets more on the steering wheel and he has to end up using that finger, or it's free to be able to click a DRS. I'm not sure. I just thought I'd call it out as something interesting. I mean, this is testing, so these are the little details that I'm looking for. Generally, Kimi Antonelli looked great. Very quick, very agile, testing and pushing the limits of the car. He looked confident, he looked comfortable, and he was one of the few drivers in the morning session actually using the full track width and just keeping the inside front tire inside track limits and pretty much sweeping in from as wide as possible on all of the corners. I think that is the play here in Bahrain. There's nowhere that I'd be recommending the tight line in terms of direction change or long corners of constant radius, things like Hungary and Netherlands, where I would be recommending tighter lines. Here, it's not like that. You want to sweep in from as wide as possible, carry as much speed as possible, and use as minimal steering as possible. Keep the minimum speed high and keep the aerodynamic platform stable, and just kind of textbook driving. So into turn 4, we saw Kimi Antonelli doing that. I saw it also into the, just on the entry into turns 9 and 10 as well. I might bring up the track map just while I refer to some of these corners here. So where did I see Kimi Antonelli using extra track width? Here into turn 4. And weirdly here as well, like on the run into turn 9, I saw him using extra track width. And this is a Max Verstappen technique, guys. This is a sim technique to be able to do this. And Max has been doing this for ages. He pretty much showed the world about this because they do it on the sim. There's like an equilibrium of grip between the track and, the tarmac / paint / curb on the outside. So here as well, and here as well. So yeah, there's quite a few places where you can leverage and take advantage of those entry curbs and find a little more entry angle. It's particularly important in turn 11 because you've got an increasing radius corner. You're going to be turning and on throttle at the same time. So the more angle you can carry in, the higher the minimum speed can be. It makes life easier when you then go for the throttle and try to open the steering. And I saw some strange lines from Lewis into turn 12, just really wide and then coming across. But that's not here nor there. I'm just talking about Kimi's opening up of the corner entries. So yeah, I thought that's something that I wanted to call out. Is just shows his confidence, and maybe the Mercedes has turned the page. Let's wait and see. 2 lockups at turns 9 and 10 for Kimi Antonelli as well. One of which was on the final lap in his run today, just when there was 30 seconds on the clock left, which is fine, just to test. As I'm watching it now, I think we're seeing George Russell into turn 9 and 10 potentially locking up there as well. So this is one of the corners, 9 and 10, decreasing radius, braking and turning at the same time, corner getting tighter as you go through. This is one of the corners where it's super important to have the braking setup changed and altered for this type of corner, and only the driver is able to do that in the car. What does that look like? Potentially increasing the engine braking so that when you pull back with the downshifts, you've got more pullback, and it means that you can shift away from using the brake pedal so much to using the gears and engine braking a little bit more. That's one thing that can get you out of trouble. Obviously, moving the brake balance backwards is helpful when you're braking and turning at the same time into a decreasing radius corner. You want to get that rotation, and you want to stop the lockup of the left front unloaded. Thirdly, brake migration, which I'm a big fan of, which is that you can start the brake balance forward, and as the corner unfolds, you can migrate that brake balance towards the rear and run away essentially from locking up that unloaded inside left front tire. So let me just draw that for you if you didn't follow me there. You've got 9 and 10 here, and if I just draw how that looks, it'll look something like that, getting tighter as you go through. And you enter from here. And as you go here, what you want to do is really pull back with the gears a lot more, like do as much as possible so that you don't have to use the brake pedal so much. And then you want to, as this kind of unfolds and you begin to brake and turn into here, you want to migrate the brake balance towards the back, again, to help with the rotation into here and to stop you locking up the unloaded left front tire, this one as well. Remember, the weight is shifting across the car towards the right in this situation. So those are some of the things in which, like I said, you want to be playing with if you're a Kimi Antonelli and having a look at the steering wheel. I forgot to mention that just before this video and this year, I have released a video explaining the Mercedes steering wheel in full. I'm going to leave a link to that video in the description of this video. So if you want to check out what all those braking tools mean and what the diff, all that means as well, and how the drivers can leverage and take advantage of this and make these changes, then definitely check that out. Like I say, I'll leave a link in the description of this video. Okay, so we also saw a lot of drivers struggling with traction. What is traction? If you're new here, it's the ability to put the power down. The harder you can get your right foot down out of the corner without having too much sliding, like on throttle, oversteer sliding, is helpful. It means you're getting forward momentum, and it's one of the best ways to find lap time. Like having traction and ability to put your foot down on the corner exit is very helpful. So we saw a lot of traction issues, most notably out of turn 1, really, into turn 2, and out of turn 4 as well. Liam Lawson actually spun out of turn 2 there. And if I just take you back over to the whiteboard, I think it's just important that we talk about the friction circle at this point in time as well. And look, the friction circle, I'm not going to give you a full rundown of it, but it's a representation of the G-force of the car, how much G it can generate under braking, how much G it can generate cornering and so on. But I don't use it for that. I use it in terms of capacity. And what I'm going to explain to you is that when the steering wheel is straight, you have the most braking capacity. And when the steering wheel is turned a little bit in either direction, either left or right, then you've got less braking capacity in either direction. Of course, like we have the lock up here into turns 9 and 10 because the steering wheel is turned. Now, the same thing applies on throttle out of turn 2 or out of turn 1 and also out of turn 4. When the steering wheel is turned a little bit, in this case, it's turned to the right, so you've got load to the left, then you've got less traction potential. Turn a bit more, less traction, turn a bit more, less traction, and at full lock, like in the tight turn 8, you've got even less traction potential. So what you want to do, therefore, is get the steering wheel as straight as possible. And if you do have to accelerate and turn through turn 2, make sure you give it a good lift and a good short shift and those sort of things to help get you through here. Also here in the exit of turn 4, you've got a bit of a crest here as well. So the rear gets unloaded as it comes over the top of this turn 4 crest on the exit. Again, crests are not helpful when it comes to traction. Dips are a lot more preferable. And if you're standing over here, that's a man, and you look at turn 4, what you will see is a track shape like that. And as the car comes over this crest, the rear gets light. And so that's not helpful. So those are the sort of things that we're looking for, guys. How do you manage your traction? How do you manage your braking? How do you use the tools? This is a technical circuit here. And by technical circuit, I mean it has challenges in terms of the corner types. And so it's important that you're switched on and trying all of these sort of things. So a lot of issues with traction, most notably Liam Lawson's spin out of turn 2. But we also saw Oscar have a little slide out of turn 2. We saw Hamilton struggle with traction out of turn 2 and turn 4 in the Ferrari as well. So look, it doesn't look like it's a driver-specific thing other than the fact that it caught Liam out more than it caught all of the other drivers out. But everyone seems to be struggling with traction out of turn 2. Okay, I wanted to talk to you guys quickly through the difference in line that I saw Lewis Hamilton take and Max Verstappen take in turns 9 and 10. Again, let's jump over to the whiteboard and draw turns 9 and 10 and just talk you through the differences in line and what's favorable. So here's turns 9 and 10. Again, it's what I drew before, getting tighter as you go through like this. And Lewis's line, if I just draw that in purple, is that it's quite tight actually the whole way through, and then it shoots out to the exit. I'm not a big fan of this, to be honest. I think you're very limited from this position as to how much speed you can carry into the corner, remembering that you've got to come out here before you rotate. The rotation is too sharp and too condensed for me, and there's a lot of dramas at this point just trying to get the car rotated, and it's just you lose too much time on the entry and the exit doing the rotation at that point. So I'm not a fan of that line. That is the line that I saw Lewis Hamilton take, by the way, guys. The line that I saw Max take, if I can show you, which I much prefer, is that he comes all the way around the outside, brakes, and sweeps in like that. I think it's much better. You've got better braking, straighter braking, and you can carry more speed into the corner. You can get on throttle earlier and get a better exit. I much prefer this shape. I would like to see Lewis try and take this shape. Kind of breaks my heart to see him taking the purple line, to be honest. He was much tighter than Max. So that's something that I really want to highlight here and really want to underline and see Lewis change at least, or try to rectify, because I can tell you, after having done thousands of laps in the sim here myself, Max's blue line is much preferred. Now, just as I started filming, we saw Isaac Hadjar spin on traction out of turn 4. Again, that's the one I drew on the whiteboard with the crest, the rear getting light and that sort of thing. So look, it has been a little bit windy out here today. It's been dusty in the morning. They've got the big aero rakes on the car. A lot of the drivers are trying medium and or hard compound tires. So it does look like generally low grip. It's also very cool, I'm told, around 15, 16 degrees as well. So it does look like cool, slippery, hard, difficult to get temperature, and windy as well. So it does look like challenging conditions. We see a little bit of understeer into the turn 11, 12, 13 corners towards the back end of the track. And we see exit oversteer as well. So entry understeer and exit oversteer is classic low grip / crosswind sort of conditions as well. So it is challenging for the drivers, and it'll be challenging for the teams as well to get a read on things. But look, first glance is that Antonelli looks confident. Mercedes with their car look great. And not to say that this means much or anything moving into the 2025 F1 season. If you want to see my predictions video in full, again, I'll link that in the description. And yeah, you'll get my thoughts there on who I think has the best chance of winning this championship and what the drivers need to do to increase their chances of winning the championship as well. Really interesting. We could talk for hours about the different car configurations with McLaren. They've got their anti-dive setup happening with the front suspension. We've got Ferrari with the pull rod front suspension. All of these things are going to have an impact, but like the chassis and vehicle dynamics is not really my side. So I can't comment on it to the depth that I can comment on the lines and the driver tools and that sort of thing. I do like both philosophies. I like the anti-dive philosophy for the perspective that it avoids putting weight on the front, which is going to contribute to understeer. And exactly what the lower of center of gravity with the pull rod is supposed to do as well. Again, lower that weight in the front and not contribute to slow speed understeer as well. So they're both trying to achieve the same thing in different ways. I'm not sure which is better, obviously, at this point, and they both have aerodynamic implications as well. So they're not just mechanical change. The mechanical changes to the front suspension that have aerodynamic implications as well. And these cars are so much governed by the aerodynamics that sometimes the mechanics doesn't really matter. And I say that very loosely because, again, it's not my field. But look, if you had a thought or question, definitely leave it in the comments section for me below. And like I say, subscribe to the channel for more videos moving forward. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.